2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Counterfeit Goods Bill 2021, SB 768, first reading.
Counterfeit Goods Bill 2021, SB 768, first reading taken. Leader of the
Distinguished colleagues, the sixth business of the day is the presentation of a report of the Committee on Appropriations on the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2021. Mr. President, you need to invite distinguished Senator Barau Jibrin, Chairman of the Appropriations Committee, to move the motion for the Senate to receive the report.
distinguished Senator Barau Jibrin, Kano North.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Senator Barau Jibrin. I represent Kano North. Mr. Move. Please go sit to receive the report of the Committee on Appropriations on the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2021 SB 754. Mr. President, I so move.
Distinguished Senator Sandy Ono. Okay, you will second the motion moved by Senator Barau Jibrin to receive the report of the Committee on Appropriations. Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the Senate do receive the report of the Committee on Appropriations on the Supplementary Appropriation Bill 2021, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman, you may lead the report, please. Leader of the Senate, before we go to the next, please let's ensure that copies are made, are produced of this report. Chairman, that we have copies so that we consider the report tomorrow. Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters on the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021. The Distinguished Senator will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 4th May 2021. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, Sadaunan Kano Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, I rise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters on a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to provide professional training to directors and promote effective governance, public accountability, professional efficiency, and for related matters. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator T.O.O.G., Chondo Global.
Your Excellency, my distinguished colleagues, I rise to move for the second the motion as ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
Thank you very much. Distinguished colleagues, Those in favor of the motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service on the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You may read the report, Chairman. Chairman, you may present the report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, at its sitting on Tuesday, 4th May 2021, considered for the second reading the bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to provide professional training to directors and promote effective governance, public accountability, professional efficiency, and for related matters. The bill, Mr. President, was referred to the Senate Committee on Establishment and Public Service and was mandated to report within 2 weeks. The bill, Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria, sponsored by distinguished Senator Abdullahi Yahya Abubakar, was read for the first time on Wednesday, 28th April 2021, and the second reading was on Tuesday, 4th May 2021. Mr. President, the objectives of the bill are: 1, to promote the practice of directorship in public and private sectors in challenging and supportive environment. 2, to provide a well-educated directors with critical thinking and creative problem-solving skills. 3, to prepare knowledgeable, skilled, culturally competent, compassionate, and specialist corporate governance practitioners. And 4, to collaborate with individuals, organizations, and agencies whose interest is in building the human capacity of Nigeria's directors and corporate governance with the aim of developing professional and technical know-how and improve productivity. And 5, to promote high level of ethical standards in the practice of the profession and skills that shall be attained by persons seeking to qualify as members of the Institute. And lastly, Mr. President, to ensure that its members maintain reputable and high standard of conduct expected of any professional practice. After the bill was referred to the committee, Mr. President, it adopted the following methodologies in carrying out its assignment. 1, the committee held several meetings to consider the proposed bill and to map out best strategies in carrying out the assignment within the time given. And 2, The committee based its report on the public hearing held on the 8th Senate on Tuesday, the 6th of December 2016. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you may recall that the Chartered Institute of Directors Bill was exhaustively discussed in both chambers of the National Assembly in the 8th National Assembly, but was not assented to by the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The reason being due to late passage and inability to correct observations raised by the Corporate Affairs Commission before the expiration of the last National 8th Assembly. Those observations have been taken care of, Mr. President, by the committee following the engagement it had with the Corporate Affairs Commission and the Institute. Consequently, Mr. President, the Committee on Establishment and Public Service Matters, after due consideration of the reports of the bill, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to provide professional training to directors and promote effective governance, public accountability, professional efficiency, and for related matters. I so move, Mr. President.
Any comments? Leader of the Senate Committee of the Whole to consider the report.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for this Senate to resolve into the Constitution of the Whole to consider this report. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this is not a controversial bill. It's very straightforward and hard. Those in favor that clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, and clause 4 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that clause 5, Minority Leader, Minority Whip.
Yes, in clause 5, Institute shall have its head office in Nigeria. Number 1, where in Nigeria? And branch offices across the Federation. Yes, fantastic. So where in Nigeria? And then you can say 36 states and FCT.
Chairman, please, how do you want it?
Abuja and branch offices across the other states of the Federation. I think that should be. Yeah, I think we need to specify.
I said, can we be more categorical to say either in states or zonal or regional offices?
I think adding zonal will be appropriate. To have branch offices in the geopolitical zones.
Is reading, the institute shall have its head office in Abuja in Nigeria and branch offices across the federation. So we are saying, can we say
It should be in each state of the federation. In each state of the federation. Yeah. Or the capital of each state in the federation.
so? The amendment by the DSP is that the branch offices shall be or will be, is it shall or will be, shall be established in the capital of each state of the federation. So those in favor of that clause 5 as amended stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Please, Secretary, take note of this amendment. Clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 9. Senator Ajibola Bashiru Sorajuddin.
I'm Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru, also Central Senatorial. Thank you, Mr. President. Section 9, subsection 3 reads that if a vacancy exists in the office of the president, the vice president shall act in the stead for the unexpired term of his office. In the absence of the first vice president, the second vice president shall act, and in the absence of all of them, the court shall fill the vacancy in accordance with the provisions of this bill. Is it vacancy or vacancies? That is the question, sir. Because now, if the vice president is not there, first vice president will take charge. If the second president, if all of them are not there, then you now say the shall fill the vacancy. Is it vacancies or vacancy?
I think I'm not a lawyer, of course, everyone knows that. And my thinking is we are still referring to the office of the president. No, we are referring to the office of the president. The vacancy in the office of the president is when you don't have the first vice president, you don't have the second vice president, all of them don't exist. Then you go and look for someone to fill the office of the president. I think that is so it should be vacancy. Because we're not talking about vacancies of vice president, first and second. So is that okay? Deputy Leader.
Thank you, sir. I'm of the opinion that in this bill, wherever we have president, we should specifically say president of the institute across the board. In the bill, sir, wherever we have the word president, we should have president of the institute. Well, maybe it's an interpretation. Okay, sir.
I want to, and those of us who are lawyers here, the president and two vice presidents, do we need to say first and second vice president, or we just leave it two vice presidents? Yes, can we say the president and vice president 1 and vice president 2? Because we are referring to, is that okay among the lawyers? Yes. Okay, those in favor of clauses 6, 7, 8, and 9 stand part as amended, stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. Those in favor that those clauses 10 to 14 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 15, register of members. Clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, and clause 19. Those in favor that clauses 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 25, clause 26. We have come to the interpretation. Deputy Leader. Clause 27. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules 1 to 2 stand part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for the chair to report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that the chair reports progress say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Establishment and Public Service on the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clauses 1, 2, 3, 4 as recommended. Clause 5 as amended. Clauses 6, 7, and 8 as recommended. Clause 9 as amended. Clauses 10 to 25 as recommended. The interpretation as recommended. Short title as recommended. Schedules as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion that this bill be read the third time. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act established the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to serve as a regulatory body for persons serving as directors in both public and private sectors to determine the standards of knowledge and skills to be attained by persons seeking to become directors, to make provisions for continuous training and development of the directors, to ensure professionalism and promote corporate governance values by directors, and for related matters, SB 495, third reading.
A bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Directors of Nigeria to serve as a regulatory body for persons serving as directors in both public and private sectors to determine the standards of knowledge and skills to be attained by persons seeking to become directors, to make provision for continuous training and development of the directors, to ensure professionalism and promote corporate governance values by directors, and for related matters. Third reading taken and the bill is passed. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. Leader of the Senate. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, The second order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Tertiary Education and TED Fund on the Nigerian French Language Village Badagry Establishment, etc. Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Tuesday, 8 December 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ahmed Babaketa, chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report. Is it not?
Is there anybody to present the report? Senator Professor Nora Ladi Dadut.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion that the Senate do receive and consider the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and TED Fund on the Nigeria French Language Village, Badagry, Bill 2021, SB 483. I so move, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, I need a seconder, please. Yeah, distinguished Professor Sandy Ono.
To support the motion as ably moved by my colleague. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the tertiary institutions and TED Fund on the Nigeria French Language Village Badagry Establishment Bill 2021, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. You may lead the report, Professor. Prof, we are waiting for you, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, report of the Senate.
Prof, you may go to findings. You don't have to read all of it. All right, thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, I will just give the findings on page 3 of the report. And I read, to achieve both the generic and specific objectives of the bill, the committee has considered the views expressed by stakeholders at the public hearing, both oral and written memoranda, and subsequently make the following findings. 1, unanimously subscribed to the content of the draft bill, while reinvigorating the fact that The bill is of immense national and international imperative as an enabler for the undergraduate students in French language to speed a mandatory one-year academic calendar on language immersion program in a francophone setting as prerequisite leading to the award of Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Education degree in French with simulation process to achieve linguistic, emotional, and social cultural fundamentals that are indispensable and required for communicative competence and general development of French language. 2, the establishment of the French language village in Badagry, semi-axis of Lagos State, as an inter-university center for French studies will no doubt provide the required institutional framework to promote both regional and global integration with potentials for attracting funding from international donor agencies in promotion of French language, thereby encouraging language development and innovative skills with multiplier effects on manpower needs of not only Nigerian countries and the world over. Distinguished colleagues, in addition, legislation in support of the Nigeria French language village in Lagos State will serve as a vehicle to enable facilitation of exchange of academic programs that are technologically necessary and demand of in fostering transnational bilingualism to ensure national and regional integration as well as in promotion of French language. Mr. President, first findings and skills that would be acquired by the graduates from the establishment of the French language village Badagry, semi-axis of Lagos State, will go a long way in expanding and deepening their horizon, not only in acquisition of French language skills, but also general language development. Hence, the need for the Senate to consider and approve this legislative proposal for the benefit of humanity. Generally, the bill has received unflinching support and overwhelming social solidarity of the participants in this legislative engagement. In addition to
Chief Whip, the chamber is noisy, please. Continue, please.
In addition to the evidence established in both written and oral presentations made by the stakeholders and resource persons at the corridor of powers of the legislature, and as well as the arena of the public hearing. Recommendations. The Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Tech Fund, having carefully considered same, hereby recommends as follows: that the Senate do consider and pass the bill to provide for the establishment of the Nigeria French language village as an inter-university center for French studies and for other matters connected therewith. 2021 SB 483 as recommended. On behalf of the chairman and members of the committee, I wish to use this opportunity to thank the President of the Senate and distinguished colleagues for the opportunity to serve in this capacity and to humbly request the Senate
Comments? Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, I rise to move a motion for the Senate to resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider this report.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider the report, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, this is a bill establishing Nigeria French village. So it's a very straightforward bill and has 32 clauses. Clause 2, Clause 3, Clause 4, and Clause 5. Those in favor that clauses 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 6, functions of the council and its finance and general purposes committee. Clause 7, Clause 8, Clause 9, and Clause 10. Those in favor that clauses 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 11, powers of French village to make statutes. Clause 12, Clause 13, Clause 14, and Clause 15, the visitor. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 16, power of visitor to decide meaning of statutes. Clause 17, Clause 18, Clause 19, and Clause 20. Those in favor that clauses 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Those in favor that clauses 21, 22, 23, and 24, 25 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 26, Clause 27, 28, 29, and 30. Those in favor that those clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 31 and Clause 32. Those in favor that those two clauses stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the interpretation stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the short title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the schedules 1, 2, and 3 stand part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the explanatory memorandum stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Those in favor that the long title stands part of the bill, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise to move a motion for the chair to report progress. I so move.
Thank you, Mr. President. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in favor of the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary for the chair to report progress, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. The Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund on the Nigeria French Language Village Establishment Bill 2021 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended, clauses 1 to 30 as recommended, interpretation as recommended, Short title as recommended. Schedules 1 and 2 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the committee of the whole? Thank you. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I rise for a motion that this bill be read the third time. I so.
The Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I so second.
Those in favor of the motion that this bill be now read the third time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Nigeria French Language Village as an inter-university center for French studies and other matters connected therewith, 2021, SB 483, third reading.
A bill for an act to provide for the establishment of the Nigeria French Language Village as an inter-university center for French studies and other matters connected there with 2021 third reading taken, and the bill is passed.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the third order of the day is the second reading of the Donkey Slaughter Regulation and Export Certification Bill 2021. The distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this chamber on Wednesday, 30th September 2020. Mr. President, with your permission, I move that the bill be read the second time.
Minority Leader. Leader, continue. You may proceed, please.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Point of order, Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a constitutional point of order. Mr. President, ordinarily, I would expect that as Parliament, we should look at the Constitution before certain things are looked at here.
We can't hear you.
Section 4, second schedule of the Constitution, has the legislative powers. Part 1, exclusive legislative.
About, please, so that our colleagues follow you.
Exclusive legislative list, Mr. President. I can read it down, but I think anybody can go through it. There are 68 exclusive legislative lists. Furthermore, on the Part 2, concurrent legislative list, we also have all the items, but the basic item that is involved here is Section 17. Now, in the first part, in the exclusive legislative list, there is nothing that has to do with animals, animal husbandry, livestock, nothing. In the second part, in the concurrent legislative list, Section 17, I can read. It says, the National Assembly may make laws for the Federation or any part thereof, A, health, safety, and welfare of persons employed to work in factories, offices, and other premises. And I can go direct to 1720. I mean the page 133 for the concurrent legislative list, and page 130 for the exclusive legislative list. The essence of my point of order is that we are to make laws exclusively for what is determined in the Constitution. We do not make laws for residual matters, states and local governments, as the case may be, livestock and matters of that nature. are in the residual list because they are not expressly provided for in the Constitution. I so submit.
I respond. What?
Senator Sabi Ali Abdullahi, Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I'm Ali Sabi Abdullahi. I represent Niger North Senatorial District. Mr. President, let me thank very profoundly the leader for bringing this bill. I'm a veterinarian by training. And I will say also that when I was in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, the issue of donkey going into extinction in Nigeria was something raised, discussed, and approved in 2004 at the National Council of Agriculture and Rural Development meeting in Sokoto State. The concern, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is every country must be concerned about its flora and fauna because the ecosystem is designed in such a manner that the balance we are enjoying today is driven by the diversity of your flora and fauna. Today, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, as it is, this subject matter, which the minority leader is referring to, in the same constitution, the federal government is also given the right to look at research. Breeding is a research work. And this bill is therefore looking at when you don't want something to go into extinction, then you are talking about conservation management. Conservation management, whether in situ or ex situ, that is in the field or in the laboratory, is a function of research. The federal government also has right in this same constitution for research. And so, Mr. President, what we are saying simply is that suddenly from somewhere, some people have suddenly realized the value of the skin of donkey. And the population of donkey in the north, because donkeys are found mostly in the drier parts of any country. And they are used for so many things, for drought power, for farm power, and the like. And so the point we are saying is, I'm aware, we have done the studies in Gombe State. And in Gombe State, with due respect, we found people coming from Akwa Ibom to buy large population of donkey. And we interviewed them and saw that, yes, there is a value chain. We are saying, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, that for us, this bill, as we see it, is something this country needs. And I think we should support it because whenever you are talking about...
No, we have not come to the point of discussing the bill, whether to support it or not. It's simply questioning, and your explanation, I think, is apt.
Yes.
Senator Basiru Surajidin Ajibola. Somebody's mic is on.
Come and use this one. Come and use this one.
Don't worry, I'm APC to the call. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru. I represent also Central Senatorial District. I rise to speak in support of the profound point of order, constitutional point of order raised by the minority leader. Is in line with the position I've canvassed severally here, even though by majority have been overruled, but for record purposes, I still want to restate the fact that the subject matter is desirable is necessary does not automatically confer on the federal legislative arm legislative competence to do so. Section 1, subsection 3 of our Constitution is very clear as to superiority provision, that any act or law contrary to the provision of the Constitution is to the extent of that inconsistency null and void unto traverse. And the basis of our existence is the Constitution. The basis of our power is in section 4 of the Constitution. We make clearly to give the National Assembly 3 areas of subject matter. 1, exclusive legislative list as listed in part 1 of the 2nd schedule of the Constitution. And a part, and I use that word advisedly, a part of the concurrent list. When we talk about concurrent list, there appear to be a misconception that the fact that a subject matter is listed on concurrent list, the federal government has the power to make law. No, there is a bifurcation as to even when a matter is mentioned. For instance, archives, it has to do with a specific that the National Assembly can make law, a specific extra specific provision conferring legislative competence on the National Assembly. But by section 4, subsection 7 of our Constitution, any other matter not so listed in the exclusive list and to which concurrent list does not confer National Assembly power are matter for legislative competence of the State Assembly. This matter has been litigated up to the Supreme Court in the case of Attorney General of Lagos State and Attorney General of Federation, when issue was in case whether the National Urban Regional Planning Law Decree that was transmitted to be an existing law by section 3318 of the Constitution is valid. The Supreme Court said the question of whether regulating urban and regional planning is desirous or not is not the issue. But looking at the structure of our Constitution, when it comes to physical planning, is a residual matter and therefore come within the competence of the state legislature. I want to say that the argument of whether a cattle or a donkey is going to extinction is beyond the point. The question is that as of today, on the state of our Constitution, National Assembly, by the Constitution that all of us sworn to uphold, does not have the competence. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, what we are talking about is concerning the donkey, not the donkey for commercial purposes, but the extinction of the donkey. And I believe that we could legislate on this like any other livestock if we feel that will disproportionately destroy our ecosystem. Secondly, even if we are looking at the economic value of the donkey, not in terms of selling it, but in terms of keeping the environment balanced, I believe that we have the jurisdiction to legislate on that. And based on our Standing Orders 25H, which gives me the chance donated by you to interpret the rules, I rule that we can go ahead and take this bill. That's my ruling. Leader of the Senate.
President, we are looking at this issue from an existential and environmental and ecological and species preservation side. We are not looking at it from any other.
Leader, just go ahead and read this one. We have passed that stage.
I am delighted to lead the debate on this very important bill, which seeks to regulate the slaughter of donkeys, establish the breeding and ranching of donkeys through the export certification value chain to mitigate the extinction of donkeys, given their aesthetic, ecological, educational, historical, recreational, scientific value to the Nigerian nation. The bill will further complement the import and export of raw animal skins and hides, especially donkey hides, which are currently on the custom prohibition list. You will recall that this bill was read the first time on Wednesday, 30th September 2020. While cattle has received tremendous attention by the government over the years through the National Cattle, Beef and Dairy Breeding Programs, the donkey value chain has not received such attention. In fact, the donkey predicament has deteriorated. There is no program in place to improve donkey breeding in a practical approach to increasing the national donkey population. The slaughter of the donkey had become an attractive business nationwide, not for the donkey meat, which is an inconsequential product of donkey slaughter, but the donkey hide, which is a lucrative export horse meat. For those who indulge in it, the horse hide is not exported, as the major focus of the donkey slaughter is for the export of the hide, which is the premium product for export. This bill is not a ban on donkey slaughtering, as it will drive the illegal slaughter and export underground to the detriment of government regulation and the attendant benefit that government will drive from its proper regulation through increased employment opportunities, revenue generation, provision of social amenities, improved sanitary conditions of the slaughter and processing facilities, and the organized export trade through the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Services, Export Certification Value Chain. The likes of Kenya, Tanzania, Egypt, and Pakistan have regulated donkey businesses in their countries, and it is contributing to the national GDP. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill therefore seeks to achieve the following objectives. One, to declare the donkey as an endangered species, which as a result of indiscriminate slaughtering for the purpose of harvesting its skin has greatly depleted the national herd of the animal. Two, to make Nigeria derive utmost benefit from the donkey hide export business that is worth millions of dollars by regulation instead of outright ban of the business that will compel the value chain players to go underground and ultimately increase the smuggling of the product due to the huge demand for the product in the Far Eastern countries, especially China. That should therefore, for those who wish to go into the business, be able to follow laid down chain operations. Mr. President, passed a similar bill, which I strongly believe is intended to prevent the indiscriminate slaughter of the donkeys and encourage the breeding and ranching of donkeys to ensure the restocking of the national donkey herd, eventually increasing the donkey population and eliminating the threats of its extinction. I believe that if this bill passes the second reading, an opportunity will be provided for the two approaches to donkey protection to be harmonized into a single law that protects and preserves the species for generations to come. The ultimate aim is to ensure the classification of donkeys as endangered species, and I am of the firm view that we should have a holistic and sustainable approach to the donkey predicament as provided for in this bill. Respected colleagues, my distinguished colleagues, I urge you in the name of God to support the prompt passage of this bill for the record or for the second reading to help make a difference in view of the harnessing the inherent economic benefit for this country and for preserving the species of this animal. Some of us grew up with that animal when we were small kids. I so submit, Mr. President.
Leader, this is the first time I heard you say you ask us in the name of God to, to save the donkey. Distinguished Senator Brian Yahya Olurogbe.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I rise to support the passage of this bill. Mr. President, I'm in line with your ruling. What is being considered here are multiple factors. One, protection of animal all over the world now is like protection of also human beings. And I think laws are made for us to be able to ensure that our heart planet is maintained and protected. when any species is being threatened to be extincted, it will be our responsibility as a parliament to ensure that we use our God-given power to protect such species. Secondly, in doing this, we are not only protecting such animals, but we are also protecting ourselves, because by protecting our planet, by protecting our heart, we are protecting the life of the generations to come. But for the current generation as well, as stated by the lead debate, there are economic values that will be added in the actions we are being called to take. It is towards this end that I urge and that I support this bill, and I urge that our colleagues do support the second reading, and that we consider it passionately and pass it into law for the benefit of the current and future generation. I so support, Mr. President.
Deputy Senate Leader. Deputy Senate Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Robert Boroke, representing Njenje. I rise to support this bill and plead with my colleagues to support it for second reading. The camel is one of the rare animals we have in this country. Donkey, sorry. It's one of the rare animals we have in this country. And the disruption of equilibrium in the system is very, very dangerous. We may not be able to predict the consequence now. So it is better for us to do everything, not only the donkey or camel, but any animal that we have. What we are witnessing in the Niger Delta is a very serious one. Now that most of the flora there have been destroyed. So it is my position that everything should be done to make sure that we preserve this animal. Also, Mr. President, this animal is known to be very, very resistant to drought. Therefore, there will be some genetic significance. We have not exploited the gene pool of this animal, which we can exploit for medical purposes in future. So there are so many reasons that we need to preserve this animal. I so support that this bill will be read the second time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Abdullahi Ibrahim Gobir.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues. It is important to let people know the importance of donkeys in our own society, particularly in the hinterland, that is the northern north of Nigeria. The donkeys are used for, one, farming. They are used also for transportation. And of course, some people are using that for meat, but these are the only Chinese that we discovered. Because very recently, we have discovered that most of the donkeys that are slaughtered are actually slaughtered by the Chinese. And then they are also exported them outside the country. You will go to the market and discover that they will carry about 200 to 300 donkeys and then take them outside. Immediately they move outside, they slaughter them and then take the meat in trucks and then actually clean them and then take them. But the most important actually is the skin, because the skin is very strong, very powerful, and is also used almost everywhere. The skin is being used as, for making boxes, for making all these iPad cases, and so many other things. So I think it's important if we can protect this one and begin to breed it for commercial purposes by Nigeria. I think it's very good. So I therefore support this bill. It's very important. And I want everybody to look at it carefully and then support it. Thank you very much, Your Excellency.
Distinguished colleagues, is there anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to regulate the slaughter of donkeys and establish the breeding and rancing of donkeys through the export certificate value chain to mitigate the extinction of donkeys and for related matters 2021 SB 496 second reading.
A bill for an act to regulate the slaughter of donkeys and establish the breeding and ranching of donkeys through the export certificate value chain to mitigate the extinction of donkeys and for related matters 2021 second reading, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development to report back within 2 weeks. Thank you very much, distinguished colleagues. I want to reiterate that the debate was largely on the extinction, and this extinction is what this Senate is concerned about, because that affects the ecosystem, that destabilizes the balance. Thank you very much. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fourth order of the day is the second reading of the Ports and Harbors Bill 2021. The distinguished senator will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, 2nd June 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Muhammad Njenje to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Muhammad Njenje, Gombe Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Muhammad Njenje, presenting Gombe Central. I move that this Senate I move that the Senate read this bill for the second time. The bill that seeks to repeal the Nigerian Port Authority Act Cap 126, 11 and 2000 and to establish a Nigerian.
You may proceed with debate, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you will recall that this bill was an executive bill in the 8th National Assembly, but the process was not concluded before the end of that assembly, hence its introduction. The bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, 2nd June 2020. The purposes of this bill are: A, provide an appropriate institutional framework for the ownership, management, and development of ports and harbors. B, ensure the integrity, efficiency, and safety of ports based on the principles of accountability, competition, fairness, and transparency. C, encourage private sector participation in the provision of services and port infrastructure. And D, promote and safeguard Nigeria's competitiveness and trade objectives. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you may wish to know that this is a global trend. As, for example, our neighbor Ghana has since established its own version of ports or reforms which has tremendously enhanced trade facilitation within the West African sub-region. This is made possible through the electronic data interchange system, the automation of the ports, the electronic surveillance system, the deployment of technology in cargo handling, various expansion works, and overall security of the Tema port. These bills seek to repeal the Nigerian Port Authority Act, Cap 126, LFN 2004, number 47, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria, 2004, and to reenact the Nigerian Port Authority and Harbor Authority, the Nigerian Ports and Harbor Authority. The enactment of this very important bill into law will transform this critical sector of the economy, as well as promote internal and international trade. It will give the authority regulatory powers to manage and develop ports and harbors in Nigeria by providing adequate enabling environment for the private sector to to operate as against the requirement in the Principal Act enabling the authority to provide services as an operator. This bill is also aimed at promoting efficiency, productivity, and quality of services, as well as to bring in competitiveness. It also throws open port services to private sector participation, and as well promote the following: increase seaport capacity and productivity, reduce congestion at the ship-to-shore interface, reduce city congestion, lower environmental impact, improved asset utilization for the port, road, and railway transport providers, improved transport productivity, intermodal capacity, and lower transport costs, improved hinterland access, enhanced competition between rail and road transport, and improved land use planning. In conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I am optimistic, however, that in a few years from now, considering enormous socio-economic benefits realizable in the nation by development of the ports and harbors, more funds will be accruing into the coffers of the government, especially now that we are moving away from mono-sectoral to multi-sectoral economy. This, I believe, the authority, in partnership with the private sector, will provide in accordance with the provisions of this bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, application to this bill, all the operational structures are already in place as the authority is taking over from the existing Nigerian Ports Authority. I therefore call on you, my respected colleagues, to give this bill the support it deserves. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru, Oshun Central.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this time around my speaker worked. I am Dr. Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru. I represent people of Osun Central Senatorial District. I stand to be in support of this motion and for the bill to go to second reading. And I say that by virtue of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, combined reading of Section 4 with the second schedule, Part 1, Item 36D, this bill is within the ambit and framework of competence of the National Assembly. I also know that by way of when it is over the fact that state authorities don't have the power to also create ports. Because the language of section or paragraph 36D is that maritime shipping and navigation, including such ports as may be declared by the National Assembly to be federal ports, including the constitution and powers of port authorities for federal ports. So I'll be advising the sponsor of the bill that it is very important to couch necessary provision such that the language of section 36B, paragraph 36B of the part 1 of the second schedule will be captured. But talking about the philosophy under the bill, we cannot underplay the need for an efficient port for the purpose of galvanizing our economy and has a lot of potential in generating revenue, employment, and economic development through an efficient port system. The purpose of the bill, as clearly articulated, is very germane, particularly in the area of ensuring integrity, efficiency, and safety of the port. Part of the thing we also need to take into cognizance is that with Nigeria now being part of the AFTA, we need to have an efficient maritime system so that we can be able to capitalize on the benefits of that. And there's also a need to expand our ports. We cannot, as a maritime state, leave the resources that we have in terms of access to the ocean through several outlets and not develop these ports. So I believe this bill very apt, and there should be given necessary expeditious consideration. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Matthew Orogide.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
I am Senator Matthew Urugide. I represent Edo South. Mr. President, I rise to give support to this bill and to commend the sponsor of this bill, Senator Goje. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, my support is stemmed from the fact that, number one, this bill was considered in the eighth Assembly, the 8th Senate, and was almost at the point of passage before we wound out that session. Number two, Mr. President, you can see that this bill is even more in nomenclature because we had it in existence, but the word harbor is now being added just to be in tandem with present day realities. This bill predominantly is to enhance the economy of our country and two, for us to be in tandem with international best practices. I do not believe that we need to belabor the issues connected with this bill. At this point in time in our history, we believe we should be on the highway of development like other countries. So I still support this bill. Thank you.
Senator Abubakar Kyari.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Abubakar Kyari, Senator representing Borno North. I rise to support this important bill. Like the previous speaker has said, the bill is mainly change of name and also the enlargement of activity. The inclusion of the name harbor means a harbor is an area of the sea or the coast where ships may moor in shelter, especially from rough waters, by piers, jetties, and other artificial structures. Now, the present consideration that we have as NPA, Nigerian Ports Authority, restricts the authority in managing and operating as a regulator at the port. But with the inclusion of the name harbor means give them more wider coverage on the coast. And I think that is why when you go to, in fact, places like Lagos and other areas, you will see ships mooring along the coast ports. So the MPA should have operating authority and regulation of those ships in the coastal areas. So I second and support this bill. Thank you.
Anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
A bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Ports Authority Act, Cap 126, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to establish the Nigerian Ports and Harbor Authority to provide for the ownership, management, and development of the ports and harbors and for related matters 2021 SB 432, second reading.
A bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Ports Authority Act Cap 126, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and to establish the Nigerian Ports and Harbors Authority to provide for the ownership, management, and development of ports and harbors and for related matters 2021, second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Marine Transport to report by within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the fifth order of the day is the second reading of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Teaching Hospital Reconstruction and Boards, etc. Act, Cap number 10, 1985, Amendment Bill 2021. Distinguished senators will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Tuesday, which invite distinguished Senator Patrick Ayo Akinyelure to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Distinguished Senator Ayo Akinyelure.
Thank you, Mr. President. More distinguished colleagues, my name remains Senator Ayo Akinyelure, representing Ondo Central. Mr. President, I rise to move that a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of a teaching hospital for the Federal University of Technology, Akure, and of a management board for the hospital, and for the other matters connected there to 2021, SB 638 be read the second time. I am here to provide the lead debate, Mr. President. Thank you.
You may proceed.
Distinguished colleagues, a lead debate on the University of Teaching Hospitals Establishment and Reconstruction of Board, etc., Act number 101985, Amendment Bill 2021 SB 638, Protocols. Mr. President, distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, permit me to lead this debate on the general principle of this important bill, the University Teaching Hospitals, Reconstruction of Board, etc., Act number 101985, Amendment Bill 2021. This bill was read for the first time on the floor of this hallowed chamber on 18 February 2021. The objective of this bill is to amend the University Teaching Hospitals, Reconstruction of a Board, etc., Act number 10 of 1995. In this bill referred to as the Principal Act, to include an additional teaching hospital, the Federal University of Technology, Akure Teaching Hospital, thereby giving full recognition to the teaching hospital sought to be included in the Principal Act through this bill. In particular, the bill seeks to amend the first schedule to the Principal Act by A, inserting after the existing item O, new item P, to read P, the Federal University of Technology, Akure Teaching Hospital. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, it is worthy of note that the Federal University of Technology, Akure, in the year 2010, in conjunction with the Nigerian Medical Council, drafted a curriculum to the NUC, that is National University Commission, for the takeoff of FUTA, School of Health Sciences and Biomedical Technology, which thereafter commenced the admission of students in 2015 to 2016 academic session. Following which the first set of the students in the anatomy and physiology graduated in 2018-2019 academic session, while students in the biomedical technology are currently preparing for clinical program. Furthermore, Mr. President, the university, with the approval of NUC, has equally commenced admission into a full program, leading to the award of Bachelors of Medical Medicine and Surgery, MBBS. And as such, the university will need a modern teaching hospital to facilitate the students' medical experiences and thereafter to the next stage of the study, which is medical college. Mr. President, it is further essential to note that the proposed amendment, when passed, will complete all the required legislative enactment to bring the Federal University of Technology, Akure Teaching Hospital into full operation. Financial implication. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I wish to state that in compliance with Order 773 of the Senate Standing Rule, Senate Standing Orders 2015 as amended, this bill, when passed, will have no immediate financial burden on the federal government treasury. And the Federal University of Technology, Akure, has signed memorandum of understanding with the University of Medical Sciences, Ondo, and the Federal Medical Center for facilities for the immediate takeoff of the proposed teaching hospital of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, and its management. While the frontline community have started working with the Federal University of Technology, Akure, on the physical infrastructure development at the hospital permanent site in Akure. I therefore urge, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues, to support this bill to be read the second time. I so move, Mr. President.
The Deputy Senate Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Robert Borofis, representing Ondo North Senatorial District. I rise to support this bill, that the bill, the University Teaching Hospital bill be amended to include the teaching hospital in Akure. Mr. President, Ondo State is one of the few states in this country without a teaching hospital. And it is something we desire in the state. The foundations have been laid because we have both the academic infrastructure and the physical infrastructure in the state. And therefore, it is very easy for us to upgrade what is in existence to a full-fledged teaching hospital. I do not see any extra financial implication for the approval. The hospital is going to operate within the ambit of the Federal University of Technology, Akure. For this simple reason, Mr. President and my colleagues, I want to plead that this bill be approved for second reading. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is anybody against the bill? Those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend the University Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards etc. Act Cap number 101985 and for related matters 2021 SB 638 second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the University Teaching Hospitals Reconstitution of Boards etc. Act Cap number 10/1985 and for related matters 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Health, Secondary and Tertiary to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. The sixth order of the day is the second reading on Federal Colleges of Education Act 1998, repealed and reenactment bill 2021. The distinguished senator will recall that the bill was read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Thursday, 15th October 2020. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Ahmed Babakaita to move the motion for the Senate to move the motion for the bill to be read the second time.
Senator
His deputy, Senator Dadu.
Senator Ayo.
Oh, Senator Ayo Akinlure. Okay. So,
Distinguished Senator Ayo Akinlure.
Thank you, Mr. President, esteemed colleagues. I rise to move that a bill for an act to repeal the Federal College of Education Act 1998 and to reenact the Federal College of Act 531. I rise, Mr. President, to lead the debate on this bill.
You may proceed.
Bill 531. Mr. President, my esteemed colleagues, I rise to lead the debate on the bill for an act to repeal the Federal College of Education Act 1986 and reenact the Federal Colleges of Education and other matters connected herewith 2021. More distinguished colleagues, you will recall that this bill was read for the first time on the 15th of October 2020. The bill seeks to establish the Federal College of Education listed in Schedule 1 to the Act. The functions of each college, among other things, are 1. To provide full-time courses of teaching, instructions, and training in technology, applied sciences, commerce, arts, social sciences, humanities, law, and management. Carry out research in the development and adaptation of techniques as the Council may from time to time determine. Engage in community services as may be appropriate. Mr. President, most respected colleagues, in 2018, study on restructuring Nigerian higher education, College of Education for Sustainable Development, Olusegun, Adewale, and Adigun, 2018, while assessing the goals of colleges of education in Nigeria, found that College of Education have not been able to achieve optimally close to an average. Problem bewildering, the colleges range from political, financial issues. The result of these challenges include low quality output, poor state of infrastructure, poor international competitiveness, among others. Consequently, Mr. President, this bill is aimed at achieving the 3 R's: reconstruct, restructure, and rebuild the nation's College of Federal Colleges of Education. My distinguished colleagues, the main ideas of this bill is to provide for the appointment of provost to be the chief executive of each college, principal officers, and other members of staff, including other provisions relating to the discipline of students, finances, pensions of staff, retirement age, and supplementary matter. The existing laws require amendment, as most bill is archaic, as it contains some items that are not in tandem with the current realities as reflected in the 1999 Constitution, as amended. For instance, there is a Federal College of Education in Yola, which is reading Gongola State in the existing act. But Gongola is no longer a state known to law in Nigeria. Some colleges of education possess the required manpower and infrastructure and have since started awarding higher degrees in affiliation with universities. For instance, the capacity of College of Education to award higher degrees is no longer in doubt. College of Education Abeokuta, in affiliation with other universities, have graduated 85 PhD holders and 120 holders of a master's degree. Similarly, Federal College of Education Zaria has graduated 137 PhD and 388 master's degree holders. In addition to Federal College of Education, Albert Ikoku Ibori had passed out 251 PhD and 301 master's degree candidates. Federal College of Education Casina graduated 55 PhD, graduated 55 and 174 and master's degree holders respectively. To sum it up, approximately, Federal College of Education in Nigeria, as of today, can boast of 1,723 PhD and 4,293 master's degree graduates from colleges of education in affiliation with various universities in Nigeria, on the average. That has exemplified their capacity to offer higher degrees in addition to the infrastructure used by affiliated universities to offer degrees in conjunction with colleges of education in Nigeria. The bill is proposing the award of higher national certificate of education degrees that will be equivalent to higher degrees being awarded by universities. Mr. President, most respected distinguished colleagues, based on Order 77.3 of our rules, this bill to regime the legal instrument guiding the administration and operation of the Federal College of Education in Nigeria does not have any financial implication. I therefore urge Mr. President and most of your colleagues to support this bill for second reading. I so move.
Senator Fadawusi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I support my distinguished colleagues. I support this bill. I've been an advocate of changing all the teacher training colleges that have been existing for a long time to federal colleges of education so that the standard of education at the primary level can be upgraded like all other advanced countries. This bill, if fully implemented or is approved, then we have a lot of teachers in our primary schools. Today, in my own village, in my own primary school, we have 2 teachers, 1 headmaster and 1 other teacher. It's the same thing all over the federation. So if this bill is approved and all the colleges of education are established, in the next few years, automatically you will see a lot of improvements in educational standards, particularly those people that scaled through was less than 2% because of the poor teaching services rendered by all those unprofessional teachers. The colleges of education to be improved, to be established in almost all the senatorial districts in the country. That's about 109. It will produce a lot of teachers. Instead of all the private teaching, private schools taking over. I support this bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is anybody against the bill? Distinguished colleagues, those in favor that this bill be now read a second time, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to repeal the Federal College of Education Act 1986 and to enact the Federal Colleges of Education and for other related matters connected therewith 2021 SB 531, second reading.
a bill for an act to repeal the Federal Colleges of Education Act 1986 and to reenact the Federal Colleges of Education and for other matters connected there with 2021 second reading taken, and the bill is referred to the Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Third Fund to report back within 4 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, my highly respected and distinguished colleagues, the seventh order of the day are House bills for concurrence, as listed in the order paper. The distinguished senators will recall that these bills were read the first time in this distinguished chamber on Wednesday, 14th October 2020, Tuesday, 1st June 2021, Wednesday, 1st July 2020, Tuesday, 20th April 2021, respectively. Mr. President, for the simple nature of these bills, and also to preserve and enhance inter-chamber reciprocity, I will use a single debate on these bills, with your permission, sir.
Where are the copies of the lead debate? Where are they? Have you distributed? Okay, leader.